So hello and good afternoon. I hope everybody is doing fantastic. I am very excited to speak to my next guest, somebody who, really practices something that is near and dear to my heart. My mother was a holistic practitioner herself. Mark Hernandez is, and he's a holistic practitioner specializing in energy medicine. This should be an interesting dialogue because for 25 years, I worked for the commercial arm for several pharmaceutical companies. However, I do subscribe to the angle, the approach of holistic medicine, energy medicine being one of them. So I'm interested and really excited to talk to Mark about what he does, how he does it, his epiphany to really come into this space. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome you, Mark, to the Altered State podcast.
Hey, Tony. Thanks for the invitation. It's great to be with you and your community.
Excellent, excellent. Mark, talk to me a little bit about your journey into holistic medicine. You come from the academic route, academia in Boston, Massachusetts. Talk to me a little bit about that transformation, how you've evolved as a human being to really adopt now this mindset of being a holistic practitioner.
Yeah. So my own journey into holistic, energy medicine, holistic healing, began in 2007. At the time, as you said, I was a college professor. Spent 20 plus years there, teaching Latin America, Latino studies. Wrote a book, articles, all the whole plethora of things that a lot of college profs do. So what got me into energy medicine is I know that there was a pattern that was repeating in my professional life that made no logical sense. In a nutshell, basically, I kept on, doing all my work, having everything, and not getting those promotions, not for any good reason. And it was a pattern, okay? And of course, like everyone, we always look at our own behaviors. Is something I'm doing? I said, this doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. So back in 2007, I picked up the phone and called my brother. One of my siblings, he's a doctor of integrative medicine, so he's a medical doc and does much more. So I told him what was going on, and he recommended that I work with an energy healer out in New Mexico. Remember, this is back in 2007. So I worked with this energy healer, 2 1-hour sessions over 2 months. And as I like to say, when nothing had changed in my professional life, that proverbial frozen needle started to move, okay? That got my attention. So I thought, well, okay, we're better. Like you said, sometimes you think, I can just willpower this and get through this. And it wasn't meant to be, and now I know why. I was meant to take a new direction. Mm-hmm. So after a couple more years, I realized, okay, we need to make some changes. So I called my brother back and said, hey, I want to learn that energy thing, because all of us come into this lifetime with baseline abilities to do the type of work that I do. And I discovered that in a later stage of my life, I was given extra helpings coming down here that were meant to come online and to serve people in even a bigger way than teaching.
Mm-hmm. So for those that don't know energy medicine, how would you describe energy medicine?
Yeah. So energy medicine is an umbrella term that refers to a series of protocols, systems, practices in which a practitioner pretty much uses his or her intuition plus training to identify and release non-beneficial energies that are keeping people or animals or spaces, I work with all three, stuck. So some of the most common forms, the big premise of energy medicine is the practitioner looks at the subtle energy field, because all of us have a physical body which looks very 3D and solid, and it is in many ways. We also have an energy body, which is like the blueprint for our physical body. So the big premise of energy medicine will look at that blueprint and see what energies, low vibrational energies, are adversely impacting people's health and well-being. The idea is to restore flow, balance, harmony with energy medicine. So some of your listeners may be familiar with, the work that's more quote unquote body work. Okay, maybe it's through the form of massage. For others, it may be where they see a chiropractor, where the chiro primarily works with the spine, does adjustments. Maybe it's acupuncture with the needles, where they've been trained. So there's those types of like body works and much more. And then, there's always all the Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine that uses herbs and other modalities, methods to bring back the flow and harmony and balance. And then in my case, there's also just pure energy medicine where I just work exclusively with the subtle energy fields to bring back flow, harmony, and balance.
Excellent. So when you come from a family with a lineage of, conventional, traditional medicine, and they say, Mark now is a holistic practitioner. Obviously, one brother supports you because obviously he recommended, you seek treatment from somebody in New Mexico. But there's a lot of people that think that this is a little pie in the sky. How would
Yeah.
you answer that?
Yeah. So the way I tell people, again, let me first tell your audience who typically sees me. So the people that get kind of drawn, at least to, see if my work is a possibility for them, typically are consciously aware individuals. So they're already kind of like on a spiritual journey. They're already in the holistic space. So typically they're already seeing a chiro, naturopath,
Okay.
traditional Chinese medicine, and they have a specific issue on their plate and they're stuck. Okay. They've gone through 90 to 95% of the things that genuinely help most people. And for whatever reason, they're stuck and in pain. Okay. They just can no longer ignore it. So first of all, those are the types of people that kind of get drawn. And what I tell people that are skeptical, that's fine. I always tell people, do your due diligence, ask questions. I always tell people with energy medicine type of work I do, or chiropractor, or whatever people are looking to that's quote unquote alternative.
Mm-hmm.
It's about results. Okay. If you're better or not, and you always decide. Okay. People often ask me, do you go out there trying to convince people to work with you? No, I present people information of what I do, how I help people. If it makes sense, we can continue the conversation. And if not, my wish for them is, may you find what you need to move forward on your journey.
Excellent. Mark, when Mark wakes up in the morning, puts his feet on the floor, what are what's his daily practice? What is, his protocol for approaching conquering the day? That's why I'm a type A guy, so I'm always like, charging ahead, very motivational. What are some of the things that you do to approach it with these modalities, like you mentioned?
Yeah. So the first thing I do, I draw from my own work and the work of other high level healers. Then I kind of have my daily energetic routine and practice daily energy maintenance and hygiene. Okay. So for me, the first thing I love to do when I get out of bed is I have some tracks from Dr. Karen Can, first stop medical doctor, went into acupuncture, did certifications in energy medicine, emotion code, body code, and now does what's light medicine, has her own Topocan healing, which is multidimensional. She has these amazing MP3s, Ascension 1, Ascension 2, that basically clear your fields on all levels and get your day started. Okay, so I spend 20 minutes on that. And then I always just, kind of always focus on what I'm grateful for of the day. Gratitude is a very high frequency. It puts us in the stage. As probably many of your listeners know, whatever we focus on tends to expand. Kind of make sure I start the day grounded, because when many of us are asleep, we go to other realms. Okay. So in order for you to be embodied, to manifest here in the 3D world, you need to be in your body and present. So those are some of the things. Then I do other things. Since I'm working with a lot of clients, I check my field after every session. I have protection, light beings that assist me in all the healings, and then sometimes things stick, that, hey, I'm human. So just kind of clear it and make sure I do that probably 2 or 3 times a day. because I'm working with people that have usually gone through significant trauma in this lifetime or others.
Somebody who's intrigued by your approach to holistic medicine, energy medicine, what are some of the steps? Just give me at a very macro perspective, how they approach you, what's the treatment plan, how does that look? And on average, how long are you treating a patient with whatever their hurt, hang up issue is?
Yeah, so it's always going to vary from client to client because all my work is customized. So let's just use an example of right shoulder pain. So client number one will have right shoulder pain for one set of reasons. Client number two that comes to me, right shoulder pain for a completely different set. I've seen it where they've had it for 10, 20 years. And sometimes a 30-minute session will get to the root and it's done. Other times there can be other layers of trauma, so it'll come off in stages. So it varies. Now, lots of times if clients have like 15 health or well-being issues, they've had most of them for 20 years, I tell people, it'll be over a series of sessions. Typically, my work, when people tell me what's going on energetically in the area of health and wellness, money, finances, age, career, any type of relationship, I have their permission to read their field, and the body will tell me, yep, 30-minute session, because 95% of my sessions last 30 minutes. Wow. The other 5%, which are becoming very rare, are ready for an hour. And if by chance a client is ready for an hour session, the next one will definitely be 30 minutes. So people bring me whatever's on their plate. Like I said, I use the right shoulder pain, or if it's a relationship issue, it's a mother saying, I'm really having, a lot of challenges with my daughter, we just don't seem to get along. I'll ask them to rate it. Let's use the issue with the relationship, the mother, the daughter. So, okay, how long has it been going on? 5 years. Okay, how severe is it? 0, no issue, 10 to the max. 12, okay. So with that information, we'll make a list. So the way it works, I have their permission to work with their energy. I connect with God Source Creator. I ask for help from Divine Help for God Source Creator, the archangels on my light team. And I ask the body, reason for that relationship issue with your daughter. The body will tell me. The two most common things I see for people, whatever their issue is unresolved negative trapped emotions, emotional baggage, anger, grief, resentment, love unreceived. Could have been 3 days ago, 3 years ago, 30 years ago. You can come into this lifetime with inherited negative trapped emotions that can impact you. The other most common factor, big category, is toxicity. Cell phone radiation, Wi-Fi, the gunk in vaccinations. If people ever took a medication, that can be impacting them. Wi-Fi, 5G. The body will tell me, so I ask the body, reason for this, it'll tell me, okay, grief, 4 years ago. Feels like your mother died? Yes. Okay, do we need to know more? No, let's just clear it. 1, 2, 3, gone. As I'm doing that clearing, sometimes the client feels it, other times they don't, I know it's gone. Just keep asking about it, reason for that issue, toxicity, EMFs, no more, no, let's just clear it. Keep going until the body says, we're completely done with the issue or done for now. So let me jump back to the right shoulder pain, because that's kind of very physical. I like to often start with something that's quote unquote physical. It's okay, you were at level 10 pain and you could barely move and it was a lot of pain. How are you now? They go, oh, they go, I still have a little bit, but I'm a 2, 5, 0. It's gonna vary. Everyone will change at a different rate. So that's kind of what I do and how it works.
So interesting. To me, it almost, as I'm hearing you, I'm thinking it's almost like not a psychic, but there's a medium component here. I don't know, for me.
Yeah, no. This is great. So yes, like I said, I have, I've been given intuitive abilities, and, I was given gifts, and like anyone, I've honed my craft. Okay. I always tell people, when Michael Jordan was playing basketball for the Chicago Bulls, he definitely had raw ability and he practiced. Okay. So that's kind of like me. I mean, I've definitely invested time, money to hone my craft, to take my gifts to the next level that I've been given. So back to your question, is it psychic? So yeah, I connect, like I said, with God Source Creator, archangels, and the light team, and I'm shown what I'm allowed to see, which is just quite a bit. Um, as far as like the psychic part, so yeah, there is that, sometimes the messages come through sounds like clairaudience. Sometimes for me, it's lots of times just the inner knowing. I just know things, which the term they use is claircognizance. So yeah, in that sense, there are psychic elements, definitely. And all my work comes from God, source, creator, the archangels. I'm very clear that's where the healing comes from. It only comes from the highest beings of love, light, truth, and integrity.
I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you first met me, first started talking about me, what is God, source, creator, or archangels? What are they telling you?
Okay, first thing is I always ask permission. Do I have your permission to read your field?
You do.
Okay. So I always tell that because when I meet people like at generic business networking events, I tell them what I do. Sometimes I go like this, thinking like I'm jumping in their field.
Yeah,
I'm very respectful. Your field is your field. I only work by permission. Okay. Very important.
great.
Okay. So I have your permission. Let me just see what I hear. Okay. This is just a piece, but what came through is like, you're really jazzed for this conversation, especially tonight.
Excellent. Excellent. Mark, talk to me a little bit about this negative environment now called COVID-19.
Yeah.
I would think that many of your patients require some form of, well, you just proved to me that you don't, but are you able to operate at such a high level through, let's say, video conferencing?
Yeah. So I'll get to the COVID piece. Let me just talk in general, and then I'll get to the COVID stuff.
Great.
So I do 100% of my consultations by phone or video technology. So I'm known as a remote healer. So people such as me, we're working in the field of applied quantum physics. As Einstein said many years ago, we're really pure energy. Everything is energy, everything's connected. So with permission, from a person, animal, or space, I have to get the permission from the space too to work with it. I'm allowed to see the energy field. And since in the quantum physics world, applied quantum physics world, there's no time, space, or distance. There's just the now. So, time is a construction, present, past, future, yes. In the 3D world, it definitely has its utility and in my work. But in the, from the higher level, it's really all one. It's all the now. So with permission, again, I'm able to, access people's energy field and see what's going on. So that's the piece kind of in general. Let me go to the COVID piece that you mentioned. So as a rule of thumb, I haven't had actually people come to me with COVID stuff. So I always tell people, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a, psychologist, psychiatrist. So if they have, we know all the controversies out there at COVID. What I do know, and I do have a friend of mine in Austin, Brian Kurtz, that directly is working with people that have received a formal diagnosis of COVID, and he's had a very high success rate of helping people at minimum improve. So what I would tell people, so per se, I haven't had clients come to me with, quote unquote diagnose. So if they have like a diagnosis, whatever it is, I always tell people, I'm just going to work with the energetics. Like with COVID, as we know, the quote unquote symptoms from the Western medical perspective vary, but let's just say it's congestion in the lungs. I would just call it the congestion stuff in the lungs. Okay. So let the medical docs deal with it from the Western medical perspective. I'm just going to ask the body what we do to strengthen them energetically. And the body will tell me. Yeah. Did that get to your
It
question?
did. It did.
Okay.
So we're hearing a lot of the success that you have in treating patients with a multitude of different ailments, pains, signs or symptoms. Talk to me about the biggest challenge you've had where you weren't able to have success with a patient.
Great question. So I think usually, let me first say that, quote unquote, the healing process is a co-creative process. So both the healer and the client, and actually the client has a very big role in his or her quote unquote healing. Okay. Um, Usually if, I work with the client and there's quote unquote no change, often the issue is, I think their expectations are that they've had financial issues for 25 years and they expect that a 30-minute or an hour session will, I can wave a magic wand and everything's perfect. So that's usually if people are kind of quote unquote disappointed, it's
Mm-hmm.
usually unrealistic expectations. I was working with a pet about a month ago. A client called me, the pet been to the vet, had 15 like different issues, okay, from the vet's perspective. And, we worked 30 minutes, worked on like four major issues. I said, we'll see some improvements on those issues worked on in about 5 days. Called me back 5 days, says, still has issue 7, 8, 9, 10. I said, yeah, the animals had it for 10 years, in different storms. So, again, I can help a lot of people with God source creator, but, I don't have the magic wand where everything will
Mm-hmm.
disappear in
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 minutes.
That's right.
So I think that's probably the biggest challenge is people sometimes just having unrealistic expectations. Because usually if they have their stuff for a long time, they've been through a lot of trauma. Typically trauma comes off in stages.
When you practice energy medicine and you're a practitioner in this category, is it a certification for humans and pets, or is that
Yeah,
something that you did by yourself? You kind of explored it because of your love of animals.
yeah, great question. So like when I was talking about energy medicine at the beginning, I was talking about people that do like body work, so like an acupuncture, a chiro, a naturopathic doctor. All of those professions are licensed and certified by states. Okay. So that, and as we know, like an acupuncturist typically goes to a formal like acupuncture school for like, I guess like 4 years, a long time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, so I'm in the realm of energy work, energy medicine, where I'm just working with subtle energies. So my training is certifications. So I've started the certification, different learnings back in 2009. I've done like 3 formal certifications, and I learn something new every day. So I'm also just very highly intuitive. So I get things that, so sometimes I'll be drawn to work with a certain modality, a tool, but then I'll get other information that I tell my clients, this is off the charts. They go, am I really messed up? I said, no, no, I'm sorry. I meant it's just not formally in the system, but I'm gaining information that's important to share. So yeah, so I'm certified, and again, the people that are going to be interested in working with me are interested in results. Again, they've gone through the 95% of things and
Sure.
haven't found the full solution.
Perfect. Where do most of your customers come from, Mark? Is it just word of mouth? Is it, patients that have and live in this space? They just, obviously there's a community and then therefore they recommend your services. How does that come?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, a lot of my clients come from the referrals of other happy clients that, and typically, like I mentioned earlier, they're already in the holistic space, yoga, organic food eating, naturopathic doctor, they're stuck. And those, it's like everything. Those communities tend to know other people that have similar issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're happy with the breakthrough they got. You know, I had one woman that had some type of foot pain for 20 years. I've gone to doctors, alternatives. Again, this comes from God Source Creator. I worked with her for 20 minutes. Her pain went from a 10 to a 2, and then the rest came undone another 3 days, and it stayed gone. Okay, that's what's possible. Again, everyone's going to be different. Um, but yeah, a lot of them come through referrals. I've, through my show, the People and Pet Show, I've gotten to know a lot of healers here in the US and abroad that, I get a lot of referrals, especially for my work with pets. Um, So yeah, so it's a lot of word of mouth because it's about experience. You know, the
Mm-hmm.
type of work I'm experienced, it's hard for me to say there's a quote unquote scientific measurement of the results. Again, it's always, are you better or not? You know, if you're going like that with your shoulder, now you go like that. Something happened. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So my work with pets. So there's a story to this. So 2011, 2013, I was living and working in Taiwan, in Taipei. I was teaching Hispanic studies at an international high school, an American school. So during the day, you know, my official title was, you know, instructor of Spanish. You know, in the afternoon and the evening on my own time, I was studying energy medicine and doing certification for the emotion code, which is one of the
Mm-hmm.
systems I'm certified in the body code. Anyway, with the emotion code, I'd gotten to the part, done the test and all that stuff. I was at that last piece of the practicum where you have to work with 25 volunteer clients, either in person or remotely, and at least 5 had to be animals. Okay. So living, working in Taipei, I didn't speak Mandarin then. I still don't. So as you can imagine, I ran into some challenges trying to find some local Taiwanese that didn't speak Mandarin to work with this crazy Westerner that wanted to do some energy healing on them. So I was stuck for 2 months, nothing. Okay. So I go, God, you know, I made some remote. But anyway, so one fateful Saturday, a local Taiwanese friend called me and said, "You want to go ice skating?" I said, I haven't been ice skating in 25 years. I'm horrible, but you know what? I'm going to go." It was just a spur of the moment. I went in the ice skating rink in downtown Taipei. There was this. We see all these cats in a window. Anyway, it was a business called the Catzel, the Cat Hotel. It was a place where primarily Western expats, English speaking, would leave their cats to be really well taken care of while they were out of town, out of the country. So we saw all these cats in the window, rang the bell, they let us in, and it was just spontaneous. The owner was there. She was fluent in Mandarin and English, translator for diplomats. She was the owner. I just said,
Wow.
explain what I was doing. I said, "Can you refer?" My ass was, you know, explain what I was doing. I said, "Can you refer me to an English speaking, you know, expat animal shelter in the capital that I can work with the animals, helps them, and helps me with my certification?" She goes, "Oh." She goes, "Oh." She goes, I'm very interested in what you're doing. I have friends that are very interested in what you're doing. You know what? I'll book all your sessions. You can do them all here at the Cat Hotel, and I'll be your translator." I said, "What?" So I went
Wow.
from completely stuck to working with 25 animals, primarily cats, but also some dogs. I worked with them outside of the Cat Hotel in the lobby. And yeah, and so I worked with the animals, and my original intention was I was going to work with people. And then when I worked with the animals, I said, "Oh, pets are going to be part of my practice when I get back and
Excellent.
establish it in the US."
Excellent.
So that's how I got started with the pets.
So great. Mark, fascinated with the dialogue, our conversation, impactful to me as somebody who comes from, the conventional
Mhm.
medicine and that landscape.
Sure.
A sincere thank you for your time. I want to make sure that the listeners have an opportunity to find you. Can you give us some information as to where they can find you and kind of read up on you, maybe YouTube?
Sure. Absolutely. So probably the best place is my website. My business is called People and Pets, plural, Energetics, Energitcs. So if they go to their favorite search engine and enter the term People and A&D, Pets, Energetics, it'll take them to my website, www.peopleandpetsenergetics.com. There they can find information, links to my show, the People and Pets Show. I do my own holistic healing show. They can find other podcast interviews. I do a lot of live mini healings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So on my show, I often do live mini healings, or I do them on podcasts when they're available. So there they can find a lot of information. If they're interested, they can reach out to me, and even when they get really drawn, they can book a session. They can also find me on Facebook, also at People and Pets Energetics.
Perfect. I'll make sure to include that information once we thumbnail the YouTube video. But once again, a sincere thank you for your time, for your consideration. When you look at the most finite of resources that we have and time, and you've given me, the last 30 minutes, and I'm indebted to you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a fun conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.